evening. We call to order the October 17th meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education. In accordance with Chapter 231 PL Law 1975, this public meeting of the Sayreville Board of Education has been established by sending a copy of the public meeting notice to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger. In addition, copies of the announcement of this meeting have been sent to the Borough Clerk, and a copy of the notice of the meeting has also been posted on the bulletin board outside of the office of the Secretary of the Board. Can we please stand to pledge the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hill, roll call.
Mr. Callahan?
Here.
Mr. Esposito?
Here.
Mr. Fernandez?
Here.
Mrs. Napolitano?
Here.
Mrs. Pavone?
Here.
Ms. Pylock?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Walsh?
Here.
And Mrs. Bloom.
Here. Can you please summarize executive session for us?
The board discussed matters falling under attorney-client privilege. Personnel, including but not limited to agenda items, was on the agenda, but it was not discussed.
No correspondence to speak of. We now need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 26th meeting.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Ms. Hill?
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Esposito?
Yeah.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Mrs. Napolitano?
Yes.
Mrs. Pavone?
Yes.
Ms. Pylock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bloom.
Yes. Okay, and now we move to our student council representatives. Okay, Sean, you're up.
Good evening, Board. Here are events that have been happening at SWMHS in the past weeks. On October 4th, SWMHS held an activities fair in the cafeteria during lunch periods, where students were able to sign up for nearly 100 clubs, activities, and sports teams. On October 5th, 3 students from Miss Moises' advanced art class created artwork for the Bombers Beyond Cafe. The wall is now decorated with fall images and Bombers Pride. Congratulations to Miss Zank for being named Teacher of the Month for October. The latest issue of the school newspaper, Echo Lights, can be found online at echolights.com. And last week, peer leadership held their first breakout sessions with freshmen. Now, on to sports. For the first time in school history, the girls' soccer team is still undefeated with 14 wins and 1 draw, earning the title of White Division champions. Field hockey is 3-9, coming off a win against Piscataway. Senior Jillian Bourbeau was recently awarded T.A. Pinto Raritan Bay Athlete of the Week. 12 games into the season, Jillian has 155 saves. The football team is 6-2. Girls tennis is 6-5. 4 girls and 2 boys from the cross-country team medaled at the XC Fall Classic. The team has GMCs on October 21st and sectionals on October 28th. Boys soccer is 7-3-1. And now, shifting focus to future events. Due to inclement weather, the original date for homecoming and pep rally was canceled. As a result, the new date for both events will be this Friday, October 17th. At pep rally, students will compete in a relay race, musical chairs, tug of war, and a field goal kicking competition. Then, at homecoming, a king and queen will be chosen from among the court. A new spirit week has been created to prepare for the pep rally. Yesterday was Dynamic Duo Day, today was 2000s Apparel Day, Wednesday will be Fall and Cozy Day, Thursday will be World Culture and Flag Day, and Friday will be Pink Out Pep Rally. This fall's play, The Plot Like Gravy Thickens, will be performed on Friday, October 27th and Saturday, October 28th. In addition, on October 28th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., a murder mystery dinner will be held in the cafeteria. It is sponsored by the Curtain Callers, the Theater Society's parent organization. And that's all.
Excellent job. I wish I could talk like that.
I just think you have the date wrong for the dinner mystery. It's tomorrow night.
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow
yeah.
night?
Yep.
My
It's the
apologies,
18th.
tomorrow night.
So in case anybody didn't get their ticket.
And then
the dinner
Thursday, we have
mystery-
Legislator Day, correct?
Yes. You're going to see way too much of me.
Sean, will anyone be visiting your class on Legislator Day?
I know I am the student ambassador and will be showing Speaker of the Assembly Callahan around.
Wow.
So,
Wow, very
that.
nice. Well, you have to tell him I said hello.
will do, sir.
Okay, Ashton.
Go ahead, Ashton.
Good evening, Board of Education members and administrators.
My name is Ashton Pondel, SMS Student Council Board of Education representative. The 2023-2024 school year is off to a busy start. SMS PTO Fall Apparel Sale, Pop Socket and Croc Charm Sale going on. Links can be found on the PTO website. Fall Food Truck Festival took place on October 13th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the middle school. Thank you to all who made this event successful. On October 9th, the Delicious Orchards Pie Sale begins. The pie sale will end on October 27th. Fall Life Touch pictures will take place on October 16th to 18th. These pictures for 8th graders will be used in the 2023-2024 yearbook. Student Council will be selling agenda pads for $5 during homeroom. Student Council and Community Service Club hosted a 6th grade social on Friday, October 13th. Thank you to all staff and students for hosting a successful event. The Community Service will host a Spirit Week for October 23rd to October 27th, and Chalk Walk messages for Week of Respect, Violence Awareness Week, and Red Ribbon Week. Beginning on October 17th, Class Council is starting the Positive Impact Bracelets, Together and Choose Kindness. They will also host a 7th and 8th grade social on October 26th after school. Tickets will be on sale next week. The Class Council will be collecting Halloween candy for donations on October 30th until November 3rd. Donations will be sent to Elijah's Promise. Now on to the Sayreville Middle School Fall Athletics. The middle school girls field hockey team, consisting of 40 student athletes, is having a wonderful season that is quickly coming to a close in 2 short weeks. As of today, the blue team had 4 wins and 4 losses, and the gray team had 0 wins but hung on tightly in several really close and exciting games. The 2 teams have 4 games left that they look forward to playing. The girls and coaches are also thankful for the community support in several successful fundraisers, like Bagel Day. Best of luck to the middle school field hockey players in the rest of their season. The boys' middle school gray team won their first game on Friday, 3-2. The boys' middle school soccer blue team continues to improve and look forward to their remaining games this season. The Sayreville Middle School's cross-country team finished their regular season with a meet against Sandburg on Monday, October 16th. The girls and boys ended their season with a record of 3-4 and will be competing in the county championships on Saturday at Thompson Park in Monroe. The SMS girls soccer team have been playing very hard this season, with only 2 weeks to go. We hope to win a few more competitive games. This season, we beat a tough Metuchen and East Brunswick team and came up close against Sauk and Monroe. We are proud of our athletes this season, especially our 8th graders. We wish them the best at the high school level. Winter sports registration paperwork is due by November 1st. Any questions, please reach out to the coaches.
Great job, Ash.
So, and just for the record,
Thank you, gentlemen.
the girls' blue team did beat Monroe yesterday. So we're 1-1 with Monroe.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Proud
Might be
dad.
a proud parent of a player there.
There
So
you go.
Absolutely. We love it.
Okay,
Great job, gentlemen.
this is your chance, if you want to go. No? Yes? Yes.
Sean, wait a minute, Sean, you didn't want to leave last time. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, President's comments. I just wanted to mention Sayreville Day, which was a beautiful day. We had a nice turnout. More of my former students than I care to acknowledge were there. They're little ones, so time marches on, but it's always a nice day to get out and see the community and enjoy some time at Kennedy Park.
And we may have been brainstorming a more exciting activity that may
Yes,
include
yeah, we
some
want to
dunk tanks or
perk
something.
up our booth. We thought of a dunk tank.
And let me guess, you want me to be in the dunk tank.
But then we decided it would cost the board too much money, so we scrapped
I
it.
see
Gotta
that.
come up with something
I'm
better
all
than
for it. I
pencils.
see a big workers' compensation.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, never mind.
Something better than pencils, though.
But yeah, we're gonna come up with some ideas to make our booth a little more exciting. Pencils are cute, but it's not a jewel.
I'll do the dunk tank.
No, we can't have that. We pay you too much money, we can't have that. Okay, now the Vice President's comments.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to
the amazing Sayreville Fire Department, who visited all of our preschool and elementary schools to teach students fire safety as part of Fire Prevention Month. We thank all our incredibly brave women and men in blue for taking the time from their very busy schedules to teach our students these very important life-saving skills. Thank you to the very generous staff members of the district who donated $1,362 to the family of a middle school student who is currently fighting a courageous battle against cancer. Congratulations to Beth DeMeo, District Physical Therapist, for successfully completing the Chicago Marathon with a personal best time. Beth now has run in 4 out of the 6 major marathons in the world. Awesome.
Good for her.
Yep. Congratulations to the amazing SWMHS girls soccer team for winning the Greater Middlesex Conference White Division and for ending the regular season with an incredible 13-0-1 record. So great job, girls. And then lastly, congratulations to the Sayreville Junior Bombers Gray flag football team for their undefeated season.
Okay, thank you. And now we are on to our presentation. Dr. Labby, do you want to?
Yes, and today is a very special evening, as it is every year. Just like the federal government, just like the state government, in the district, we do what is called a state of the schools, almost like a state of the union or state of the state. So every October, this is our opportunity to share with you, Board of Education members, as well as the community, all the wonderful things that took place last year and all the sites that we have set ourselves on for the upcoming year. This year's State of the Schools is a little special because several months ago we started the process of initiating the collaborative development of a strategic action plan that would begin in 2023 and run through 2027. So we're joined here by 2 very special guests, as well as some incredible community members who sacrificed their time to be with us. But we were very fortunate to have Kane University, Dr. Brian Zakowski and Mr. Jason Lester facilitate this process. So they are here with us this evening to talk to you about the collaborative development of our 2023-2027 Strategic Action Plan. Dr. Zakowski.
Thank you, Dr. Labby. Hello again, President Bloom, great seeing you again, and board members, community members. And we're being streamed to millions of viewers, I understand, so hello to the millions of viewers.
We're up to about 2.5 million.
Okay. The ratings are up, I'm glad to see. I'm joined here with, as a Vice President of Kane University, I'm joined by our Special Assistant to the President of Kane, Mr. Jason Lester. Many people don't know we're twins. Mom always favored him, but I'm going to get to speak first, and he'll join very shortly. The strategic plan that Sayreville has endeavored for the next 5 years really talks about a journey. It's certainly not a destination. And it's an effort to really look at future growth and enhance. People say good to great. If you're doing something good, you want to make sure you have that pathway to great. If you're not doing something so good, you need a pathway to get there. And it doesn't happen accidents and hope, not strategy. It really takes strategic thinking, alignment, collaboration, and adaptation. You have to be very adaptive because we're in a very state organization that's in a state of flux. It's always fluid, yet the people we serve, school districts serve, children, the community, you must address their needs at the current place where they are. So thinking about the future and addressing the current needs, it takes some dexterity, but it takes planning. And I'm very proud to say that Sayreville really went above and beyond to collaborate and send out a message. So we talk about stakeholders participating, effort to organize the efforts to meet the needs of the students. All students, all means all. It was voluntary, collaborative participation in selected areas of the following 5 domains. We looked at the 5 non-negotiable pillars. Of course, first and foremost, student achievement, technology and security, finance and business operations, facility and grounds, and culture and climate. We leverage leverage district data to create goals in these areas on September 30th, 2023. This was a product of this endeavor, and it's contained within, and everyone has the board members have the plan itself. So if you can go to the next slide. And so, as we said, it's a long and winding road. Just like if you were going to a trip to California, it would never be a straight shot, right? You have traffic jams, construction sites, bad weather, detours. So this is what you have to understand a strategic plan is. The key to strategic thinking is putting a plan together, being ready to adjust, monitor and adjust. Because, again, with the challenges, changes that you may face, if you just scrap plans because it's not being your pursuit of perfection, you'll never be able to move forward in that challenge of good to great. And, you know, Vince Lombardi once said, you either get better or you get worse. And the way you get better is continually challenge the status quo, even if things are going well, right? You want to be able to say, how can we move this? What are suggestions? What's our thinking? So that's what we did. We endeavored to take a look at focus areas and get qualitative feedback. Are we doing well? Is Sayreville doing well in this area? What's your comments? How do you rank? And then we also took some qualitative data. And then we met together as a group on a Saturday. We worked with your administration, your superintendent. Although it was not the administration or the superintendent's strategic plan, it was the community strategic plan, really the input. So if you could move to the next slide. Again, just a visual. Although there's 5 pillars, we know center to all the pillars, the cooperating pillars, the support pillars is around student achievement. That's our primary focus in any organization that wants to serve the community. It's about students and their achievement, but that can't happen in a silo. There's so much that goes into it, particularly in our world today, to meet the needs of a comprehensive pre-K to 12 school district, public school district, and very diverse in learning styles, in language, and many other cultural areas. So the challenges are there, but the beauty is in the success that you've been experiencing. And the commitment that we're not satisfied, we're always looking to make to the next rung and lever for every student and every classroom and in every school. Can you go to the next one? Again, we met, and these were the 5, these were the survey areas. I don't want to, but very important, these are the 5 pillars. There's nothing that you could want from Sayreville School District that wouldn't fit into these 5 pillars. Yes? Okay. I'm going to bring up my twin brother, and Mr. Lester, why don't you take some of the numbers and take through the survey of qualitative and quantitative.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. But before I begin to talk about the numbers, I'm going to try and keep it light and fresh. I do hear that you have a dunk tank that is open. Am I clear with that?
No.
Well, Dr. Labby, I'm
But we
going to let you
could,
off the
we
hook,
could.
pal.
It's on our vision board.
I'm not going to say that I have somebody for the dunk tank.
We'll take them.
Free of charge. I'm shooting first. Let's get into the survey numbers. You know, we've all at sometime in our life been surveyed at a restaurant, schools, clothing stores, about the level of service that you have. What I like about this right here is that we have all of the community's involvement in giving input as to the direction in which they want to see the Sayreville Public Schools go. We have 59 staff members, parents and guardians surveys 154, but what is most impressive is that you have 127 community members that surveyed that. And you say, wow, that's really not that good. But again, given the size and scope of the district and what we've seen from other locations, this is awesome. And again, thank you to the board members, Dr. Labby, for really getting the surveys out there so that people can really have the input and the direction of the school. So we used a Likert scale. Again, it measures opinions, attitudes, and behaviors. Again, we looked at number 1 being the strongest, 5 being the most undesirable or most favorable. And again, we looked at the community as a whole, school community as a whole, and when we, again, put this survey together, and quite fascinating information out there. Let's look at the student achievement. I'm going to start at the bottom first. The most 4 important critical skills that Sayreville Public Schools students should learn before graduating high school. Now, across all 3 aspects, problem solving and critical thinking skills, academic knowledge and skills was number 1 and 2 across all of those demographics. Financial literacy and communication showed up periodically throughout all of them, but they were on all sheets in different forms. But something that you really need to hang your hat on is, again, when we get closer to 1, the more favorable the opinion is. So student achievement planning pillar is used to assess the school district's performance and capacity in terms of instruction and student performance. If you look in the middle one, I'm satisfied with the ability of the Sayreville Public Schools students to meet the expectations set by their teachers. That's a 2.4. Again, when you look at these numbers and you think about how close they get to 1, you're really, again, operating at very high levels. Is there room for improvement? Yes, that's why we're here. But again, it's about moving the needle forward through this strategic plan. Technology. Wow. Again, we get to do a lot of these. I've never seen some of these numbers before. So, but again, the top 2 important ways that how Sayreville Public Schools should use technology in the classroom. Practice safe, legal, ethical behavior, something that we surely need in this age of social media. Use of digital tools, common application effectively and constructively. Again, we want to merge that technology and that use productive means and not for a bunch of nonsense and tomfoolery. But if you look at that 1.97, it's important for Sayreville Public Schools to ensure the consistent technology access and devices are upgraded as needed to ensure successful operation for the district. Again, that's putting the proper tools, updated tools, tools that function in the hands of kids. As far as I'm concerned, that 1.97 is a perfect score. You guys are doing a fabulous job of making that happen, and that starts with, again, the board allocating the funds and resources to make sure that the young people of Sayreville have the technology in their hands to move forward.
And I'm going to interject a little bit. The challenging part is you have a pre-K-12 district. The technology is different, the applications, the software, different at different levels. And here's the other bad news. Keep progressing. Trying to be on the cutting edge with a 2% cap on a budget. And you're very cognizant of the impact of your taxpayers and your community members. So you should be commended to do more with less and to be people be satisfied, but also your strategic thinking. It came back and said, how can, the key word is, I know with Eric, the refresh. People understand, you have to refresh all this technology, update it. It takes a lot of allocation, budget appropriations, and keep it satisfied and keep the students and prepare them. Remember, the goal is to prepare students for their future, not our past. So it's amazing. I first started principal and superintendent, a phone when we took them from students. Now, they're everything. Students can do so much work on it, computation, and so on. So we just want to commend you on keeping up with the technology and looking how do we continue to progress and satisfy the needs of our students.
Well, just a little point of clarification, Cal. There weren't cell phones, it were computers. Okay, security. So here's something that's very common. Security planning pillar is used to assess the school district's performance and capacity in areas such as school safety and wellness. Here, again, a fabulous job being done. During our September 30th meeting, there were several passionate comments about how the overall security, the attentiveness of the security officers, the different structures that we had within the buildings are not only noticed but deeply appreciated amongst the community members, of which, again, it simply goes out to you guys' hard work, and again, in addressing issues that are presented within not only the Sayreville, but throughout our country, throughout the world. So tremendous job there. Finances, woohoo, yay. And facilities. This is something that's tops everywhere. And I want to, again, the fiscal planning pillar is used to assess the school district's performance and capacity in the area of finance, including areas such as budget planning, capital projects, and facilities. First of all, the one thing that I do want to say is that from the survey information that we got is that all the stakeholders were aware of the process. And again, you would look at the 3 scores going completely across except for the 2.8 as something as, you know, people are pretty much neutral, but it kind of sort of is consistent throughout all of the districts that we've done work with. But what I will say is that I find when I look at, I'm satisfied with the annual budget conversations and the process and that takes place in my school and or department with a 2.8 score. That means that people are really satisfied, but they really think that you guys are good stewards of the tax dollar. I don't think you can get a higher compliment than that. If you do, I really want to be there to see it because I've never seen that compliment. So it's another great job that you guys are doing. Continue to be great stewards of the tax dollar. You can see the top fiscal priorities for the school district: increased expenditures and increase the programming, staff and parents. That's likely because the parents are actively involved, staff want more. They want more. Now, when you go down to the community, they say maintain the current expenditures and programming because, again, in New Jersey, how do we get our school budgets? Property tax dollars. So it's consistent with both groups, but again, the fact that they say that you're good stewards of the tax dollar, again, another feather in the cap for the Sayreville public schools. Okay, school culture and climate. You say, what are you great at? What is your greatest strength in Sayreville public schools? The quality of the teaching staff, parent interest. What are some of the things that we have challenges or issues facing in Sayreville public schools? Class size would be one. Developing curriculum to meet the diverse needs of students, as well as student conduct from time to time. Again, this is consistent with other communities. This is consistent throughout a lot of the strategic planning that we've done. But here's something that's really, really, again, reflective of this strong community. Sayreville Public Schools reflecting a rich, robust tradition of celebration, special events, recognition of members of the school community. You recognize greatness when it's appropriate. I'm sure tonight after us, you're going to recognize greatness. The fact that you had 2 young people that spoke very well up here tonight, that's your commitment to making sure that you're highlighting, again, you remember that quadrant, student achievement, making sure you're putting young people first. And that's what you all are paid to do, although your paycheck is not quite as large as his, as volunteers. Too soon? But again, the tremendous effort in making sure that, again, that we're doing things that's right for young people across. Now, how do we get all this information? Well, again, last Saturday? 2 Saturdays ago, okay. A lot of football injuries here to the head. We did our Scott's analysis, which is really something you've probably heard of SWOT analysis, which is more for business. We felt as though that our Scott analysis is more detailed and oriented and work better with school districts for strategic planning. And again, the strengths is, what are you great at? Again, we talked about parent engagement. We talked about the great teachers. You know, you have tremendous athletic programs, arts programs here in Sayreville, as an examples. Some of the challenges, you know, what can we get better at? You know, alumni engagement came up. upgrading facilities. That's kind of sort of everywhere as you're ongoing and doing things. We look at opportunities. How can we prove our overall brand? Again, the brand of Sayreville is what we're really trying to get. Create more cultural awareness activities. Be more inclusive of families was some of the things that we heard. Again, expand our business partnerships within the community, again, to improve the brand of Sayreville. Transitions. We look at transitions as how can we be better prepared to move forward? Again, like Dr. Z said, school districts are in more transition because of the fluidity of our situation. A few years ago, COVID happened. You're talking about a downshift like no other. It was painful for everybody. No matter how long, if you were a superintendent for 52 years, no? Okay. Scale back down. Everybody were freshmen within that. Whether you're the first day on the job, 20-some odd years on the job, you know, nobody knew what to expect and how to do things. But again, that experience going through that allowed us to do what? Prepare for our future through strategic planning. So, again, the technology people are doing a great job with outdated equipment. They have a plan in place, continue to have that. As we start to think about, there's a teacher shortage that is upon us. Critical subjects, math and science. How are we going to tackle those issues? With that, you never know what your state tax dollar will look like in the near future. So again, these are things through strategic planning we'll be able to address. Remember, Dr. Z talked about that you're on that road. You don't know what's coming. But again, the strategic plan will allow us to have guiding principles as we move forward. Brother?
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Couple quick jabs at me, as you can see. I'll certainly even it out.
I love blues.
Even it out. But so the winding road of a strategic plan, we have, the board members have it, published, you know, the board members have the draft. It's a first reading tonight. We'll take 2 readings. We know the next steps involved. It will be a continuous journey, even once it's adopted. The way it's written, if you could just bring up the quick plan.
And it's also posted on the website.
Post
So
it on
any-
the website.
The 2.5 million people watching at home can just access it from the website right now, too.
Very good, very good. I'm glad. Hopefully the ratings didn't go down with Mr. Lester's tomfoolery. And, but, you know, I told him stick to radio, but we'll let him on TV for you. And so we have a picture, very important. We put that picture. That was our Saturday group, our community group. It was actually even larger. People had to go, but for the most part, we were very proud. We were there early in the morning until about 2:30 in the afternoon, through almost 3 o'clock when we convened. But they took this SCOT analysis. We did some feedback from the data, and the SCOT analysis, instead of saying strengths and weaknesses, we say challenges, opportunities, transitions. And for example, it came out, you folks passed a referendum. What a challenge it is to ensure that you're going to be on time, on budget, to make the most of that wonderful opportunity. Many districts cannot say that community support, a referendum that helps improve the facilities and gives them that extra little boost of finance to help the facility. So that itself will be a wonderful challenge that came out a little bit in the meeting, but it's going to be addressed strategically on its own because there's very prescriptive ways you're going to be spending that money in your plan. So if you could just move on. I just want to show you, for example, we aligned the 5 pillars in the first goal. If you could keep going. Thank you, right here. So student achievement. A big thing was about learning, critical thinking, problem solving. So for example, the big goal, think about a funnel. The goal is the funnel, top of the funnel. The idea is to operationalize it, finally put it into action, where theory meets practice, so to speak. So this is the funnel, the big goal. Accelerate learning for students pre-K through 12 through the development of critical thinking, problem-solving skills as to enhance their abilities to meet the ever-changing future global environments as productive and self-sufficient citizens. Holy mackerel. You do that, you know, you deserve a Nobel Prize. But that's a big goal. What does that mean and what does it look like for the first grade teacher to the 8th grade teacher? Well, we're talking about action steps, create problem-based learning assignments. The world today is about students being able to think critically. The world today is about employers needing folks to be self-sufficient and be able to adapt. You know, the old world of business was big beat small, right? But we found out, and the research is there, big may beat small, but fast and adaptive companies and skill sets beat big. One must be able to adapt. So students have to have that opportunity to solve problems. Employers want people who can solve problems. And then, again, increase literacy and mathematics performance requirements across all content areas. Literacy and mathematics across all areas, yes. We call that STEAM. And literacy in the areas of science, literacy reading and writing in the areas of the STEAM content areas. Very, very important. And then, of course, provide ongoing and multi-tiered professional development for all staff. Critical, and one thing that we see in Sayreville, you're supporting ongoing professional development, because you either get better or you get worse, even professionals. You wouldn't want the dentist doing the same techniques for patients 20 years ago even, what they have now, right? Preparing dentists, doctors, students, teachers. You must continue to prepare them for their future and their future needs, and that's ongoing future. And you have a wonderful application of PD with your Sayreville Universe, or is it?
University.
University. We love that. And we make mention of that in the strategic plan. Was made mention during, I think, Erin, your little work group, that maybe we could, sell the seats, like sort of like Priceline.com. People want to learn about the Sayreville way, how you do things. There's an opportunity to kind of lease those folks out and train other districts, just as a creative, innovative way to get that Sayreville brand out, and the way Sayreville looks at PD really is a model. So, and you could go through, the board has its plan. Just if you could take it to the climate and culture, get down to it's the last pillar. And you got a little bit. I was going to read this all 40-something pages, right? Now,
Thank you for not.
as we're waiting for that, I just wanted to say that, Ms. Bloom, I will donate the dunk tank if Jason would, you put Jason in there with his Speedo. You would raise a lot of money, and it'd be a good, fun time for all. So like climate and culture, develop and implement a recruitment plan for diversification of staff and expand hiring opportunities for staff. That's just not looking at, hey, we got a teacher shortage. How do we look at to represent our student body? How do we look and get the best and brightest, and also look at how do we diversify? If you could continue to another one, for example, on climate and culture. You can just keep going through. If you could go back, number 2, yeah. We talked about community being your strength. Well, we didn't want to forget that you need to continue to employ a wide range of events, opportunities, communication methodologies to connect with parents, families, with district schools. That you can never, it's a timely and timeless goal. Timely, you need to continue to do it. Timeless is never going away. If Sayreville is going to increase their brand and be a wonderful school district to the community, you can never say, well, good enough, we can stop now. You're never going to stop connecting to your community, whether it's Sayreville Day, whether there's opportunities. And so we have a list of action suggestions. And I should mention, because of that long and winding road, this is a 5-year plan. So after the first reading, second reading, and you could continue to go, we have so many of these wonderful goals taken directly from the qualitative and quantitative and the in-person meetings that we were able to develop. It really was a pretty fun endeavor, because it didn't stray. It wasn't like, how are we going to put that into goal setting? Before we get to conclusion, there was, keep going down. This one, last one here. Yeah, student behaviors. So you heard about, I think we saw some of the things that was response from some folks, things we'd like to change, student discipline. Now, everyone say, wow, it's out of control. Do you know, we receive more calls in our office at Kane for help with student behaviors. You know, the number one issue that districts were facing pre-COVID was the mental health and students' depression, anxiety, across the state and probably across the country. Well, when COVID hit, we were trying to survive. But mental health didn't go away. So it exacerbated the issue, and students now we're finding so many issues with anxiety, depression. And so discipline can't be about just punishment. I'm not saying you let people get away with anything, but the idea is you're looking strategically, how do we embrace and help change behaviors and create a culture of, passive restraint, develop district-wide social and emotional learning. Social learning supports are short and long-term, but looking at it from a standpoint of the immediacy, how do we do, social fairness? How do we make sure that students are changing behaviors and not just being punished? Because if you just punish students without having consequences and some chance of change in behavior, you don't have a fair discipline policy. So looking at it strategically is very important because it's not easy work. Most people don't want to deal with that. It's easier to suspend and send a child out in school or out of school or Saturday and be done with it, right? But sometimes our mission is really to take students that need help and give them help where they are. And if it's meaning some kind of restoration and some kind of growth and idea of changing behavior, that's what strategic thinking is when you look at discipline. And then you could go to the concluding slide where we just say strategic plans and these goals represent a tremendous effort. I want to thank the many great people from the beginning. That's a long road. It's certainly not a destination, it's certainly a journey. The implementation, adjustment of these goals to best serve the needs of children of Sayreville and the ever-changing political and financial landscapes are critical facets for success. This document is only as good as implementation. So if you go to the next slide, that's a key phrase. It's only as good as you implement. And I think there's one more slide, right? No, okay. So I will say, it's only good as implementation. What are your next steps? Board, good luck. Hopefully you take a first reading and you want to pass it. And then, of course, it takes two readings and full passage. It's on the website. And I will stop there. And Mr. Lester and I will certainly take any questions from the board.
Well,
Or Dr. Labby,
and
whatever.
before you do,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we want to give thanks.
well, we want to give thanks, but I wanted just to give a little bit more of an explanation about Vision 2030. A lot of times people ask me, what is Vision 2030? And Christopher, I don't know if you don't mind going to my slide, sir. Slide number 4. So if you were aware, back in the spring of 2014, even before I became superintendent here in Sayreville, the Board of Education adopted something called Vision 2030. And at the time, it was for those kindergarten students. It was to teach those kindergarten students the hard or academic and soft social and emotional skills that they're going to need to be successful, happy, productive, and contributing citizens to this community. Well, believe it or not, folks, those kids are now our 10th graders. And we only have 3 years left to work with them ourselves before they leave and go off to college. And then college, or whatever institution of higher learning they attend, will have to do the rest. So we have 3 years left with these children, as well as all of our children. So I can't thank enough Dr. Zakowski, Mr. Lester, and the incredible people that assisted us in the development of this final 4-year strategic action plan. And that includes our Board of Education, who during our retreat in July provided quality feedback to Dr. Zakowski and Mr. Lester. Our incredible A-team, which we call our administrators, who are here in force tonight. And if you don't mind standing up, our A-team, and let's give them a big hand for their leadership. They, too, provided invaluable feedback during our administrative retreat in August. Community members that participated in the survey, and then, of course, the people that I'm going to ask to come on up, if they're here tonight, that assisted us on September 30th. So, Mrs. Bloom, if you don't mind, could you help me with this?
I would love to help you.
If you take a look at the governance portion of this agenda, we wrote a resolution thanking those wonderful people. So Mrs. Bloom is going to provide you with your own personal copy of the resolution, signed by Mrs. Bloom and myself. And basically it reads, whereas the Sayreville Board of Education strives to continually improve the education of all our students to be the best they can be. And whereas the board wishes to recognize these very special community members who sacrificed their personal and professional time on Saturday, September 30th, 2023, to assist our school district in collaboratively mapping the future of the children in Sayreville for the next 4 years during an education summit. And they are Dr. Edward Aguiles, Lucille Bloom, Audrey Burns, Bridget Burt, Timothy Byrne, Doreen Consumagno, Nicole DiPapalo, Lauren Gassman, Eric Glock Malloy, Kim Grossman, Aaron Hill, Tynesha Stokes, Christopher Howard, David Naster, James Colemanberg, Kathia Lee, Pam Lubeski, Lady Maldonado, Mohammed Naveed, Richard Nemchek, Don Pace, and David Ritchie. And whereas this Board of Education is extremely appreciative for their demonstration of dedication to our district and to our students, and now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Borough of Sayreville, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, hereby commends and honors the Sayreville Education Summit community members, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution executed by the superintendent and board president on behalf of the Sayreville Board of Education be presented to each of the Sayreville Education Summit community members at this regular Board of Education business meeting on the 17th day of October, 2023. Hold on. One more picture. Get up here, you two.
Go get your certificate.
Go get your certificate. Come on, Rick. Rick's gonna go to yoga. Come on.
Phillies. Phillies, come on. Hang on, let me scoot out of the way. I'll be against the
Mr.
wall.
Nemchek, come on.
You'd have told me that, I wouldn't have shown up at all.
Come on, tuck it in, you know there's so soft. You know
Yes, she is.
Congratulations. Chris could do it.
Hold on, you're right, Mitch. Go ahead.
Oh, they're gonna bill us. Now we get billed.
Yeah. How much does Kane bill?
Higher angle, we need the other cane guy to do it.
I think I should hold his hand and shake it over.
Wait a minute, ready? You say Mr. Lester. All right. Excellent, you got it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Board of Ed. Ms. Bloom, thank you.
Okay, Chris, if you could move on to slide 7. Okay, so I'm going to just finish up with the State of the Schools address. I promise I'll be brief. Major accomplishments last year. As noted by Dr. Sikowski, we passed a referendum. We signed a collective bargaining agreement with our administrative team, our Sayreville Administration Association. We nearly completed all of our energy savings improvement projects. We nearly completed our solar power purchase agreement projects, except for the high school and the middle school. All of our large HVAC projects in our schools have been completed. We're very proud about that. That means every single large space in all of our schools has air conditioning, and that was pre-referendum. We have all the groundwork or preparation done for the high school and Truman School HVAC. As soon as those units come in, we'll be able to connect them and provide air conditioning possibly as soon as this spring. We expanded the parking at Samso. We repaved the parking lot at Slover. By the way, it looks beautiful. Great job. I don't think that thing's been, is Jimmy here right now? I don't think Slover's been paved probably in a good 40 years.
No, it looks great.
It looks fantastic, yeah. As mentioned previously, we are now performing 95% of our busing in the district. And if you went back 7 or 8 years ago, that number would have been 20%. So we have exponentially increased the amount of busing. And by the way, what's that caused is an exponential decrease in complaints. We're not perfect. We strive to be, but because 95% of the busing is done by our amazing bus drivers and bus aides, it's a tremendous difference. We opened up our Bombers Beyond 18 to 21-year-old program, which featured the Bombers Beyond Cafe, which if you haven't been there, I highly recommend you go. I know they call Disney World the happiest place on earth. Bombers Beyond Cafe is the happiest place in Sayreville. And if you don't believe me, go to the cafe at 132 Main Street and you will become a believer. We opened up Project Before It's Slover, and it's been a grand success. So my compliments to Ms. Burns, Ms. Obrick, and all of the people that have been instrumental in making Project Before It's Slover such a success in their first year last year. Of course, we brought the central office here so we could have our new very own boardroom, and we can't thank Mrs. Coglianese, the principal of the Samso Upper Elementary School, as well as Mr. Tola and their staff for making us feel very, very welcome. Our AP scores continue to ascend. We're incredibly thrilled by the fact that the scores for our students in advanced placement courses at the high school, they keep going up. We made many mentions of that during past board meetings, the jumps that our kids are making, so we're very pleased about that. And we did have some promising results in our New Jersey graduation performance assessment when it comes to English language arts scores, in which 90% of our students passed. We're very proud about that. So our other goals, I'm not going to go through them all, but as you can see, in terms of finance, we achieved nearly all of our goals. Some of them that we didn't achieve, we strategically delayed. For instance, we are looking at refurbishing the War Memorial High School Stadium. We had to delay that because of the work that we're doing with the referendum, the work that we're doing with the transportation complex, and so forth. We also had to strategically delay the renovation of the current bus garage into a buildings and grounds garage because of the fact that we haven't yet moved out of that bus garage. And then finally, we are still in the process of looking to see when we can go ahead and refund our Series 213 bonds. And again, we're strategically delaying that because, quite frankly, the interest rates are not cooperating with us right now. In terms of facilities, again, we accomplished nearly all of the things that we wanted to, except for the things that we wanted to strategically delay. Again, the refurbishment of the high school stadium, the transportation complex, which if you were attending the last Board of Education meeting, you know that we accepted a bid for the site development of it. And then, of course, again, converting that bus garage into a buildings and grounds complex. Information and technology, everything we achieved that's on there, with the exception of budgeting for new technology integration facilitators. However, Mr. Glock-Valoy has come up with another strategy in which we could potentially have a stipend person in every building that serves on a part-time basis as one of those technology integration facilitators. And we're looking, if you look at their goals for next year, that's one of them. In terms of student achievement, our first goal for our students in grade 8 meeting or exceeding expectations on the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment in English Language Arts, we did not achieve that. We came very close, but we did not achieve that. Nor did we achieve our 5th grade goal in that very same area. Again, came up 2 percentage points short of that. However, in mathematics, we did achieve our goal of 54% of our students in the middle school Algebra 1 class meeting or exceeding expectations. But unfortunately, we did not achieve our goal for our 4th graders in that very same area, in which, again, we came up just a little bit short. Some of the other things that we wanted to do in student achievement, we were able to do. We're in the progress of taking a look at if we have the ability to nominate a particular school for a Blue Ribbon Award. We started exploring virtual or augmented reality instruction. We're actually going to be doing it here with our 4th and 5th graders. We're excited about that. And if you look ahead at some of our goals, it's to expand it in grades 6 through 8 next year. And then if you look at our strategic action plan, we want to expand that to the high school as well as down to the elementary school in future years. One of the things that we still need to work on is integrating more of our students with disabilities into our general education classrooms. We fell just a little bit short of that. That's one thing that we feel, if you looked at our student achievement data, some of the demographic groups that are struggling right now are English language learners and our children with disabilities. We feel it's inherently vital that those children, to the maximum extent possible, are in the general education classroom. So that is certainly one of our goals that we're going to continue for next year, and you also will note it in the strategic action plan. Culture and climate, we achieved every single goal that we set forth to do. However, some of these goals you're going to see, again, for next year, as well as within our strategic action plan, such as increasing representation of different demographic groups within our staff. We think that's very important. Also, we're going to continue our focus on student behavior, how we can use restorative justice practices, our social and emotional learning programs, a new one in which we call Silas, to help teach our students better decisions and so forth, which will lead to less behavioral infractions. Again, though, we're very pleased with the progress we're making in culture and climate, and that's not only reflective in the goals that we have for this year, but also in our strategic action plan. Speaking of the goals for this upcoming school year, we want to secure funding by January of 2025 to restore the carport and rooftop solar panels at the high school. We've mentioned this on several occasions. We are in a legal dispute with our current solar power purchase agreement financer. They basically abandoned the work at the high school. They've completed the work at all the other schools. So now one of our goals by January 2025, Ms. Hill's not happy with that goal, is that we somehow find the financing to complete that job. And of course, we'll be doing it ourselves maybe, and that energy will be ours to sell, which will be of great benefit to the community as well as the school district. We also want to secure funding to purchase the remaining 54-seater and minibuses so that 100% of our bus routes are driven by our drivers. We are 6 buses away, or 5? I think we're 6.
I think it's 6.
6 buses away. We want to accomplish that this year. We still want to try to secure funding to renovate the buildings and grounds complex. Of course, we need to move our mechanics and staff out of the bus garage in order to do that, but that's still a goal of ours. We still want to see if we can go ahead and refund or refinance that Series 2013 bond. Want to see if we can ensure grant funding to continue to pay for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 mental health services. Right now, we use a vendor called Effective School Solutions. They have been doing a magnificent job for us, but we have been offsetting the costs for their services through federal grants, most particularly the American Relief Fund, Elementary and Secondary Education Relief Fund, and that money is running out at the end of this year, so we have to figure out a way to go ahead and continue to fund that incredibly important program for our students. And we want a secure payment method for parents to pay fees and fines with a credit card by September 2024. And you know, you might think that that sounds, funny or illogical. Why, this day and age, when everybody pays through credit card, why is it that we're putting this on here? Because it's very rare and unheard of for school districts, for parents to be able to pay for things through a credit card via a school district. With accountability regulation changes, we are now able to do that. So we're going to explore how we can do that. In fact, I believe Ms. Hill has been working with the advisors at the high school to go ahead and create a program in which they can pay for different programs that the kids want to participate in through credit cards instead of, cash and other means. In facilities, we want to get that transportation complex constructed. And we want to do it by September 2024, at least the site development. The actual facility structure that goes onto it, we want to make sure we go out to bid for that, and hopefully by December of 2024, we'll get the whole thing finished over there off of Cheesequake Road. We want to continue to work on the facility improvement referendum bid projects. So far, we are currently working on projects 1 and 3, as well as 6, so we want to finish those by September 2024. Likewise, I mentioned it earlier, we want to finish those carports and rooftop solar panels by January of 2025. We want to explore parking area deficiencies at the Eisenhower School, as well as the Sayreville Middle School, and establish a plan of action by June 2024 to address those deficiencies. Right now, we don't have enough parking at the middle school, particularly since we have buses that are being parked there because we haven't been able to construct our transportation complex off of Cheesequake Road. We just don't have enough parking for staff. We need to expand that parking over at the middle school. And if you've ever been over at the Eisenhower School, it's always a little bit tricky there for arrival and dismissal, and we really want to take a good hard look at how we can go ahead and improvise and expand parking and maybe change some of the procedures for dropping off and picking up children to make it more safe. Finally, if you've been to the high school when it's rained a lot, especially at the stadium, there's a drainage issue, and it's an issue that Mr. Coleman'sberger and our ground staff has been working on for years. The stadium needs refurbishment. The greatest thing that we need to work on is that drainage problem over there. And there's been a drainage problem probably for the past 30 years, and it's about time we corrected it. And it comes to technology and information and technology. Again, I'll let people read this on their own. I don't want to go too far into reading everything. But a couple of big things that we want to make sure that we do right now, our Truman School is in need of a new public address system. We want to make sure that we get that done by January of this upcoming January. Speaking of public address systems, we also want to make sure that the Samsel Upper Elementary School has one budgeted for and maybe even replaced by September 2024. And I mentioned earlier, we want to go ahead and see how we can hire part-time or stipend positions for those technology integration facilitators. We want to try to do that for the 2024-2025 school year. We have some ambitious goals for student achievement. I'll let you take a look at those as well. I won't read them all, but we have a very ambitious goal for our students in mathematics, 11th grade mathematics, for the graduation performance assessment, as well as for our 7th grade students meeting or exceeding New Jersey State learning standards in mathematics. Some other big things that we want to do is we want, again, I mentioned it earlier, we want to increase the percentage of students with disabilities being appropriately educated in those general education classrooms. We want to implement a new phonics program in kindergarten and 1st grade. We want to do that by this year. Develop a district-wide science benchmark assessment. Implement a district-wide writing assessment. In fact, writing is our major focus this year in English language arts. And I know that Ms. Grossman has been hard at work with some of our supervisors working on creating a district-wide writing assessment with Rutgers University. We want to expand, as I said earlier, the virtual and augmented reality instruction. Right now, we're doing it at SAMHSA. We want to expand that to the middle school next year. We've learned that the current alternative literacy program that we have for students with disabilities is no longer in production, so we're looking right now. Mr. Naster is working with his supervisory team, as well as teachers, on different choices for alternative literacy programs. Hopefully we'll have one set and implemented by September 2024. And Ms. Grossman, as well as Ms. Caprero, are working on the implementation, the selection and implementation of a new high school English language art program, which we're very excited about. I mentioned earlier some of the same goals for culture and climate. We're going to also be asking our staff members to assist us in achieving this year. Again, we want to focus on decreasing violent and substance abuse-related behaviors that result in suspensions, particularly those long-term suspensions. We still want to continue to work on increasing student attendance and decreasing the number of students that are chronically absent from school. And by the way, the definition of chronically absent is any child that's been absent from school for 15 or more days. As you can imagine, since the pandemic, that has been a major challenge. We want to improve student social and emotional development through the different means. One of those is a new program that we went ahead and purchased this year called Silas. I think all of our teachers are pretty excited about. I'll be very interested to see how that turns out. We want to continue to work on staff minority representation within our buildings. And we want to expand leadership capacity within the next 5 years through the creation of a district and building leadership succession plan. We want to do that by June 2024. One of the other things that we do during our State of the Schools address, and it was great to see that Dr. Zagowski provided survey data that demonstrated that most people in Sayreville are satisfied with the way in which we go ahead and report information about the budgeting process. And if you follow the district long enough, you know that at this time every year we introduce what's called the Budget Development Calendar. Essentially, as you can see on the slide in front of you, it's a list of dates in which we are basically stating that we are going to submit preliminary budget data, share that preliminary data with the board, and then present a series of workshops to the board on the different wants and needs that our building principals or our directors and supervisors have with regard to the budget and the different programs, resources that they need in order to accomplish their goals, as well as district goals. So as you can see, we're going to provide the Board of Education with what's called a preliminary budget by January 12th, and we balance that budget with the previous year's revenues. Once we get the revenues for the 2024-2025 school year, we'll then go ahead and balance the budget with those revenues and then ask the board to go ahead and approve a tentative budget, and that will be right now on March 19th. Finally, on May 7th, we'll conduct our annual public hearing of the budget and ask the board to adopt it. Also during this meeting, we present to you the previous year's harassment, intimidation, and bullying ratings. There are self-assessment ratings that our principals give their schools. We normally also provide student assessment data. However, we already did that back in August, I believe. Ms. Grossman gave a very lengthy and very detailed presentation on our student assessment. We're not going to give that presentation for you this evening, but we did include it in the State of the Schools presentation. So it is in this presentation. We're just not going to present it to you tonight. So if you go ahead and you access this presentation online, you'll be able to see all of our student assessment data, including the advanced placement scores that I raved about earlier. So Mr. Glock-Malloy, can you take us quickly through our 2022-2023 harassment, intimidation, and bullying self-assessment ratings?
I certainly can. And the first several slides are the standard breakdown of information on what is included in the HIV self-assessment, and this has not changed over the years. So if we could jump down to slide 8, Chris, which is the first slide that has a chart in it.
Be 29.
So if we look at our first chart here, the 22-23 HIV self-assessment scores, this gives the breakdown in each of the categories which are listed at the bottom of the chart on how our principals and their anti-bullying specialists scored their buildings for this year, including a total score, not a total score, but an average score for the building, as well as an average score for the district in each category, as well as overall. If we look at the next slide, you can see our comparison year over year. You will note that as we've mentioned prior years, Slover and Cheesequake do not have data for all the years because they were not part of our scoring system until relatively recently. And And then the last slide is new data for this year. We did actually see this data on our SSDS reports, but the state is requiring that now as part of our HIV self-assessment, we include the number of determinations of HIV reports that were reported, but as part of a pre-screening process were not followed through with a full investigation. The criteria here allowed for by board policy and state regulations is that if we assume all information being reported to us is true, would it meet the threshold of an HIB? The principal makes an initial determination on that in consultation with their ABS, and then Dr. Labby makes a final determination on whether to either accept the pre-screen or to move it back for a full HIB investigation. You can see the breakdown here of what our various schools did as far as HIV predeterminations and screenings. And again, we did see this in our SSDS data. This is now also part of our HIV self-assessment scores. We will see this data several of the times as we move through the year. Some of this is reflected on our SSDS data, and we will also see this when our preliminary self-assessment moves through the state, and then the state ultimately gives us our official scores back, usually towards the end of the school year or into the summer. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Clark-Muller.
Excellent as usual.
Mrs. Bloom, that concludes the 2023 State of the Schools Address. So any board members that have any questions on either what I presented or Dr. Zakowski presented, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have one question. When you look at the, wait, hold on one second. When you look at one of, I forget, I'm trying to find the report, but it goes like 9 out of 15, like it goes down, all the schools listed, what they did for the, let me find it. Can't believe I lost it.
Is this for the HIB?
Yes. So what does that like mean? Like if it says 3 at, but the score is under the bottom. Like for example, it looks like Project Before Care. Yeah, Project Before Care has 13 out of 15, 9 out of 9. Like what does that mean?
So if you look up through the other slides, it does give the breakdown of how each of the scoring systems are worked. But basically, what the principals and their ABS do is they try to assess on a score of 0 to 3, from a does not meet to a partially meets to a meets all requirements to exceeds all requirements. Did they meet each of those elements that were defined by the state as part of their HIB? So you can, if you go up 2 slides from the table, you can see the breakdown of how the scoring is done, and the slides that precede that identify each of the categories and what is included in them.
So the 13 out of 15 means what?
So a 13 out of 15 basically means within that category that the principal and the ABS determined that they probably met, I'd have to dig down into the individual scores, but they most likely met all of the criteria, but perhaps did not exceed the criteria.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, what? All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I couldn't find it for nothing.
Mrs. Bloom?
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank the gentlemen from Kane for their lovely presentation as usual and their humor. Looks like we may be getting that dunk tank. Okay, now we will move on to board discussion, Finance and Infrastructure Committee. Ms. Pabon?
Hello. We met the 10th, which was, I don't remember what day, but I think last Tuesday. And we spoke about the referendum, about the bids for the air conditioning at the high school. A lot of stuff is really almost completed. So we are moving along there. The windows are also being completed at a couple of the elementary schools, and then we have the bathroom and the vestibule going to be done at I always say wrong, Slover. That is going to be done, we're just waiting on submittals, so that hasn't finished yet. The third bid, roofing, that's getting done at the Arlitt, Wilson, UES Middle School, and the high school. And then they're gonna be doing more work for the Safeway, which Jimmy was explaining, and Arlitt is almost complete. We have some bids that haven't gone out yet. Some bids are in review with the state comptroller's office. So we have a couple of bids that will be done later, 6th bid and the 7th bid for windows and HVAC. The completed projects, I believe all the roofs are completed. Am I right on that?
They're in process.
Or in process, but they're being worked on. We have mechanical items, they were like things that we were waiting for parts and stuff, that was also completed. All of the HVAC in large areas has been completed. They did a lot of testing to make sure that the pipes didn't, with the new pipes being all installed. They did pressure testing to make sure there was no leaks. And a couple of little leaks were identified, but Jimmy and his crew was right on top of that to get it fixed. Dr. Labby already said that we're waiting for another time to go with the stadium refurbishment, and then the bus complex. We have awarded the bid, we're just waiting for the performance bond to be signed. Stadium lighting, we're gonna be looking at that to improve that. Grandstand audio, they're waiting on parts. The theater also will, they're waiting on parts to improve the theater sound, which we agreed to a long time ago. And then, again, Dr. Labby already mentioned that the bond refunding is on hold till they have more advantageous interest rates. Sorry for being mumbled, but that's all I can say.
Thank you, Mrs. Pabon. Okay, Personnel Committee, Mrs. Pilot, please.
The Personnel Committee met earlier this evening. We reviewed open positions for both certificated and non-certificated staff. We talked about the Professional Development Day. That is shaping up to be an excellent event on November 7th for our staff. We also talked a little bit about our mid-year job fair, which is tentatively slated for in January, details to be forthcoming. And then also talked about substitute bus driver and substitute nurse positions, which I believe are on the agenda today, right? That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Middlesex County School Board Association update, which is mine. The next county meeting will be on November 28th. It will be a hybrid meeting at 6 p.m., and it's going to be held at the Ross Street School in Woodbridge. So, Mr. Callahan, if you can be there, it'd be lovely to see you. We're going to try and have the topic of removing the elections from the schools, so we're going to see if Dan Harris can make that happen for us. And then the other piece that came to my attention the other day, the county president, Sharon Miller, reached out. The state anti-bullying task force, so Eric, this will be of interest to you, is looking to improve the regulations. So they asked for feedback, which you graciously provided, which I anonymously forwarded because they don't want to know what any school district is, so it's just all going to be anonymous, so that they can, make some corrections perhaps in the details of the regulations that are the devil in this whole process. So that's ongoing.
So when our funding is cut, we'll know why.
Yeah, no, they won't know it came from me. It's all anonymous. Okay, and now that's it for me. Well, it was anonymous, but they don't know who submitted what.
They're the two. They have to be one of the 2.5 million people watching this right now.
But they won't know what came from what school because all of the districts in Middlesex have been asked to provide. If nobody else provided, then they know.
If they know anything about Eric, they'll know it's Eric.
Yeah, and just to add to that, they did ask for parents and public people to submit comments. You could have appeared in person, you could have did it virtually. I did try to alert the community of that possibility because everybody's complaining about bullying. So that was something I felt should be of interest to people. So hopefully it will make an impact on the bullying provisions because they're not always right.
Yeah, they're a little convoluted. I think it's just, it's difficult to understand the process. Okay, next is Mr. Fernandez, Sayreville South Amboy Rotary, please.
Thank you, Madam President. The Rotary supported the Historical Society in the Haunted Sayreville tour this past weekend. Yes,
Stop.
yes, we have. You should have been to the tour, you would have learned all about it.
I have enough communication with Chris, thank you.
Wait till I pass on. It's really gonna be haunted.
Also want to
Oh,
thank,
I'll be right here.
also want to thank Mr. Howard, Mr. Glahusky, Mr. Stallo, and many others who coordinated and gave an opportunity to our students who graciously donated their time to participate in this tour. So fortunately, I don't have the names of the students that volunteered, but I want to thank them as well.
And we should thank the Board of Education, too, because the Board of Education provided the buses.
That's right. I was on the tour. It was very good.
And our drivers did a great job, too, I heard.
And our students really were like, we were at the, like, almost on the curb getting ran over by cars flying down Main Street at like 12 o'clock at night in front of the Bomber Cafe.
You have
So,
experience with
yeah,
that.
and they're like, come on, you have to stay on the sidewalk. So they were very good at making sure we were safe.
Awesome.
They didn't want you to become part of the ghost tour.
Exactly. Squish.
Okay, thank you.
That's excellent.
Anything else that anybody wants to add at this time? If not, we will open it to public participation on agenda items only. Do you want me to do a?
No.
We're good, okay. Anybody out there want to come to the microphone and talk about agenda items only? Seeing none, we will move on. The superintendent's report, any questions? I think we already went through that. Nobody has any questions for you?
You want me to go through it?
In which case?
That was the state of the school's address. Did you-
Oh. Oh,
He hasn't done it yet.
No, which one did I get?
another report. Okay,
I'll-
superintendent's report. It will be short and to the point, right?
Doubtful.
Be
Go
quick.
for it.
Be quick.
No, now I don't feel like it. Okay, here we go. Numbers 13 and 14, we're asking you to accept a very generous donation from Barbara Stolt for the Bombers Beyond program in the amount of $100. As well as we have a very special person, Mr. Edward Zaliga, who went ahead and donated a clarinet valued at $1,500 in the memory of his father, Joseph Zaliga. So we can't thank them enough for their very generous donations. You can find more of that on page 3. Number 16, which you can also find on page 3, we're asking you to accept an award from Grow New Jersey Kids, valued at $136,950, and we can't thank Mrs. Burns enough for going ahead and garnering that for us. And that's for professional development services, coaching, and classroom essential subscriptions in our preschool to support the tools of the mind. Number 17, which you can find on page 4, again, Mrs. Burns worked very hard on going ahead and getting teaching strategies gold for early childhood teachers, which includes instructional coaching, online assessment portfolios, and professional development in the amount of $22,188. So thank you, Mrs. Burns, for that. She actually utilized ARP, Elementary, Secondary, and Education Relief Funding for that. Number 36, again, staying with Miss Burns in early childhood. Boy, she's on a roll. You can find that in the addendum. We're asking you to approve the submission of the Division of Early Childhood Services Annual Preschool Operational Plan Update and school enrollment for the 2024-2025 school year. So we're already working on the 2024-2025 preschool year. So Ms. Burns was very hard at work this month, as she is always. And then finally, as mentioned previously, on the addendum number 38, we're asking you to approve technology items, particularly staff laptops and student Chromebooks in the amount of $423,475. And I believe, Mr. Glockman, that is to go ahead and replenish our cycling.
Yes, that's actually our next year device supply for students and instructional staff.
Excellent. Any questions on those items or anything else on finance and infrastructure? Seeing none, I'll move over to governance. There's nothing on student achievement of note, that I'm going to note. Beginning on page 11, numbers 2 and 3, we're asking you to approve what we've already gone over, the 2023-2024 school district goals, as well as the 2024-2025 budget development calendar. Numbers 4 and 5, which you can find on page 11 and 12, we're asking you to approve what we've already gone over, the 2023-2027 Vision 2030 Strategic Action Plan for a first reading. And as Dr. Sikowski mentioned, Any members of the public, any members of the Board of Education, any staff members that want to make recommendations for revisions, please send them to us. That's why we're doing 2 readings. So if you're watching this at home, download it, take a look at it. If you feel you'd like to add some suggestions, let us know, and we'll go ahead and discuss them and potentially incorporate them. Any questions about anything on governance? All right, moving along to personnel. Numbers 9 and 10, as well as 35, which you can find on page 17 and 19 in the addendum. We're asking you to hire new certificated and non-certificated staff for the school year. Numbers 11 through 13, as well as number 36, which you can find in 19 and 20, page 19 and 20 in the addendum. We're asking you to approve the transfer of certificated and non-certificated staff for the school year. Numbers 18 and 39, which you can find on pages 21 and 22 in the addendum. We're asking you to approve the appointment of high school coaches for the winter and spring season, as well as an advisor for the fall drama and spring musical at the high school. And I'm very pleased, by the way, to see that person that is being recommended. She's phenomenal. And numbers 25 through 27, which you can find on page 23 and 24, we ask you to approve the appointment of additional teachers for the general education and special education literacy and math academies, as well as Tier 3 intervention services for this school year, obviously. And now, Mrs. Bloom, I surrender to you.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Labby. Okay, where was I? I lost my place. Okay, any questions from anyone on the board? Dr. Labby's report?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say I'm happy that Jordan Gallagher was chosen to, or nominated, whatever, was put up for, to be a hair stylist for the plays, because she's been doing it for many years for free. So it's nice to see her getting paid for it.
It's Cynthia Gallagher.
Oh, I thought Jordan was the hairstylist. That's what it says in
Oh,
here.
it says Jordan? Okay.
Yes, Cynthia resigned
Cyn-
and
Oh,
Jordan
Jordan
took
took
the
over.
spot.
That's right.
Yeah, so, well, I hope she don't go away totally. She's the best costume.
She's amazing, yeah.
She's unbelievable. But I'm glad Jordan's in it, because no matter what, if Cynthia was getting paid, Jordan was doing work too, so I'm glad that she's been selected.
Me too.
Good choice.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay, now we will need board approval of the items on the agenda. Ms. Hill?
So we need a motion.
We need a motion. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
He moved. He seconded.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes, on all items except attachment D1, page 5, the young lady by the name of Lori Callahan, I have to abstain.
Okay. Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez?
Yes.
Mrs. Napolitano?
Yes.
Mrs. Pabon?
Yes.
Ms. Pylock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bloom?
Yes. Okay. Now we're back to public participation. Okay. Anybody in the audience who would like to speak on anything related to the board, not necessarily on the agenda? You mean you all just came out to see us tonight? Thank you so much. We're pleased that you're here and that you've taken the time to show an interest in your child's education. Okay, seeing none, I will close public, and I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I
I have one
second
question.
it.
Yes, sir.
Where are we on the instructor for the ROTC? Do we have anyone, or?
No. We had a person, but that person, we believe, leveraged us to go someplace else.
Okay, thank you. We're still continuing to look, though? We didn't?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
Yeah, it's still in operation. The
Correct. Master Sergeant Knowlton is doing a fantastic job keeping the
Master
program
Sergeant is
going.
still with us.
However, we do have to, hire the aerospace teacher. So we're still looking.
Okay. So we need that motion to close?
I make a
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
Second. Okay. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you and good night. Next meeting, November 21st.